While potential presidential rival heads to Washington for a closed press meeting, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis we're talking about, scheduled to meet with advocacy groups and to the Republic. That's the advocacy group, as well as several Congress members, donors, and conservative activists to seek their endorsements. At this point, only two House Republicans, Chip Roy of Texas and Thomas Massie of Kentucky, have endorsed DeSantis for a 2024 presidential run, according to Axios. 6 other congressmen are expected to attend the event. Here with his thoughts on DeSantis meeting today, full colonel in the U.S. Air Force Reserve and host of the Doug Collins podcast, former Georgia Congressman Doug Collins, plus former Trump campaign aide and author of Wicked Game, Rick Gates. Doug, I'll start with you. What do you think about DeSantis coming to Washington to get endorsements when Trump is notorious for not trying to go to Washington for anything, and now DeSantis goes to Washington?
Well, it's sort of a coming back here, and I think one of the things he's having to do is come back to Congress because he's having trouble down in Florida. There's been more Florida congressmen who have actually endorsed Donald Trump, and that's in spite of him being a governor and having a successful record down there. So it's not really surprising. I mean, he's been here before. It comes back to some, if you would, familiar ground to make a maybe personal pitch to some of the folks to say, hey, we need you to get behind our campaign. But right now, again, people are going to Donald Trump without him traveling to get the endorsements. It'll be interesting to see if anything new comes out of these meetings that he has here in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, Rick, same question to you. Is this a good strategy for DeSantis, or is it a little bit strange, especially that he is also, like the former president, trying to position himself as an anti-Washington establishment candidate?
Yeah, look, I know that the DeSantis campaign has tried to reach out to, members of the Florida delegation in terms of, potentially not endorsing Trump or giving DeSantis an opportunity. I think this is a little desperate at this juncture. I think that the fact that 5 of the Florida Republicans have endorsed Trump is an interesting sign. And look, I mean, I remember in 2016 working for Donald Trump, we had like maybe 5 endorsements total by the summer of 2016. They're very hard to get, and I think that DeSantis is worried, particularly about not being able to get some of those. And there's now questions about his time in Congress and how close he was to members of the Florida delegation. So I think it's creating an interesting picture of what DeSantis is doing strategically to try to put himself on the national map.
Well, a new DeSantis PAC is hitting the road in New Hampshire. Take a look at their latest ad.
So why is he spending millions attacking the Republican governor of Florida? Trump's stealing pages from the Biden-Pelosi playbook, repeating lies about Social Security. Here's the truth from Governor Ron DeSantis.
We're not going to mess with Social Security as Republicans.
What did Trump say?
Entitlements ever be on your plane?
At some point they will be. We will take a look at that.
Trump should fight Democrats.
What do you think, Doug? You've been in a lot of races before.
Yeah, this is normal, but I will tell you, this ad, when it first hit, made its ways on social media. I had about 2 people within just a few minutes of it airing tell me, saying, if this is the best they got, they better try harder. And I think that's sort of the theme that you're seeing among the Trump supporters right now. They're much more fired up, much more engaged. And when things like this come out, they're going to be much more aggressive at it. The DeSantis campaign has done a lot of things, that they're trying to position themselves very well at. But it seems to be missing the mark right now. And I think as we just said just a moment ago by Rick, says this is an issue in which they're trying to gain some credibility where they seem to have lost some credibility in some of the national voting. And I think that's going to be an interesting thing as we move into the last few weeks of the legislature's time down in Florida, is how quickly is he going to come out and actually start swinging the way Trump is actually swinging. Trump has much more experience of this on a national stage, and if they don't start, then people are going to wonder, does he have it in him to take on the former president?
Yeah, Rick, do you think that DeSantis does have it in him to take on the former president?
Well, look, I think time will tell. I think, over the last several months, when you look at his policy accomplishments in Florida, those are good things. When you look at a couple of his snafus on the national stage, those aren't good things. You saw some of his, potential big donors kind of pull back and say they're going to pause to see how he develops. So I think there's more of a question mark in front of Ron DeSantis right now, whether he can do that. And only time is going to tell. But I think when he makes kind of desperate measures like this, the ad, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how he tries to define himself. And that's very hard to do when, Trump's in the arena.
Let's turn to the Biden family ties. The House Oversight Committee tweeting out this. Lawmakers visited the U.S. Treasury to view financial records related to the Biden family and associates' business transactions. 9 members of Joe Biden's family have been involved or may have benefited from the businesses we are investigating. Rick, what do you think?
Wow. I think my hope is that the American people don't get bamboozled by the mainstream media again, like we did in 2020, when they tried to create a narrative that a lot of this was false information, forged documents. I mean, these are serious accusations. I do hope that Congressman Comer comes out and allows the American people to see the information so that they can judge for themselves. But this is not paint a pretty picture. I don't think a lot of people, honestly, Bob, are going to be surprised by it.
And Doug, final words to you. But all I keep thinking of when I hear 9 family members is 9 times. Remember that from Ferris Bueller's Day Off? But that number sticks in my head. But final thoughts to you.
Yeah, 9 times. Well, it's just over and over and over. Biden, Biden, Biden. This is exactly what you get from the Joe Biden world. It's documents we don't remember. It's gaffes. He's a walking gaffe factory. He doesn't seem to remember what's going on. This is a problem, and now you're taking in the legal, which is being. And I agree with. I don't think many people actually are surprised by this. But the real question is where is DOJ in this? This is the question that I think most Americans are asking. Is not what does Congress think? They don't have the power to really investigate or indict anyone, but DOJ does, and they seem to be just ignoring it.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Doug Collins, Rick Gates, thank you.
Good to see you.